Hi guys, I am Kenya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I just want to add my 2 cents on this whole immigration issue. I feel like since the topic is sort of dying down as of now, as of lately, I really haven't heard too much about it. I just want to share my little 2 cents on what I think about immigration, the laws. Now I just want to say that it's just crazy. Like I would hear like people say, oh, if they don't belong here, then they should leave. Like if they don't belong here, why are they here? Like that's the main argument is, oh, they don't belong here. But when you think about it, nobody really belongs here in the US. You know what I'm saying? I am black, I'm of African descent. Whether you want to believe the whole slave narrative or say for instance, Africans did come over here pre-Christopher Columbus and we were already here. Like nobody really belongs here. I feel like if anybody is supposed to be here, it would be like Mexicans and things of that nature. That's just my opinion. Also, from what I have researched on my own, what I came to find out was that the Moroccan Empire was here in the US before Columbus got here. And this is why the first treaty that the US signed was with Morocco. And I've also heard that Columbus never really made it to the US. He made it to the Caribbean, but not the US. And Christopher Columbus is, referred to as a navigator, but he was a terrible navigator. And he made it to the Caribbean. And if you notice in Trinidad, there are a lot of East Indians because Christopher Columbus, when he made his trips back and forth here, he was making his trips to India for spices and things, and when he got here he had East Indians on his boat and he thought he was in India, and that's why he started calling the native people here Indians. And I believe that's why Trinidad basically has a lot of East Indians from that whole era. But we never really talk about how East Indians were enslaved and brought to America like so many other races, just not black people. The Irish were enslaved and even treated worse than African slaves. Now when people say, when I hear the term, well, they don't belong here, like they don't belong here, like talking about like, Mexicans or, just anyone from those Latin countries, Panama, South American countries, all those countries, even if it's Haiti, or because Haiti is technically considered a Latino country, but people just don't refer to Haiti as a Latino country, but that's a whole different story. But my mind went back to a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I took my son to Ellis Island, and we went to Jersey City. We took the ferry. Now I went to Ellis Island a few times in my lifetime, maybe about 3, and I just wanted to show him the museum and educate him on just different things about the country, because I'm very big on teaching my son a lot of things at home. I learned a lot at home. I feel like my father gave me a lot of books, and I learned a lot at home, and I learned some things in school. So if you go to the museum over at Ellis Island, there are like stories, there are like accounts of different stories of people coming here to the New World, and what they experienced, what their ride over here was like. And carved in one of the monuments at Ellis Island was, there was something engraved, and it basically said, I'm not sure verbatim exactly what it said, but I remember the word dregs, because I remember being like, what does the word dregs mean? And I remember going home and Googling it. Well, basically Googling it right there on the island from my cell phone. But basically, the people who were coming from Europe during the early part of 1900s were basically the dregs of Europe. They were the bottom of the barrel. They were, dealing with famine and just all types of stuff, and they were coming here to the US for a better life. And so they were criminals too as well. And so this whole narrative is, people from South America, those countries, they're criminals, they're killers, they're uneducated, they're the bottom of the barrel, they're this and that. But during the early part of the 1900s, when massive Europeans were coming here to the New World, guess what they did? They opened up Ellis Island and they processed these people to come here to the US. And only about 2% of them got sent back. That's it, only about 2%, or it could have been less. Not that many people who came here through Ellis Island was sent back. And if you don't know, like once you got to Ellis Island, there was like this whole medical procedure, this whole assembly line where they checked everybody, made sure that you weren't sick, and if you were sick or possessed any forms of sickness, polio, mumps, measles, they sent you back. And when, you know, these people were coming, Europeans were coming here to the US, you know, they didn't come here on boats like the Titanic. It wasn't like a glamorous ride, you know, beautiful, you know, anything like that. Like, they came here on steamships. Like, you know, if you go to like Jersey City or even like Battery Park, like where the pier is, where a lot of you know, embargo ships come, like that's how they were coming here. They were coming on ships that were bringing goods or imports, I should say, to the US, and that's how they were getting here. They weren't coming here in the best conditions. They would come in here, you know, in the worst of conditions. You don't know what could have been on those steamships they were traveling on. It could have been, you know, toxic waste, you know, coal. Like, there could have been all types of stuff on those steamships, on those freight boats, or however you want to call it, coming here to the US. So, you know, now, you know, in retrospect, it's sort of like we sort of celebrate those people who came here. We have movies like, you know, The Godfathers 1, 2, and 3, based on those immigrants who came from Europe to here. You know, they started gangs, they were making money. You got movies called The Gangs of New York, you got American Gangster, you got freaking The Bronx Tale. It's like, yo, we are good at celebrating those types of, it's like, in a way, we celebrating it because we watch movies, we like, yo, you know, especially black men in a black community, like, we celebrate, they celebrate that. You know, they look up to like Scarface as like an idol, even though Scarface is based on Cuba, you know what I'm saying? But the whole, you know, that gang culture is like, you know, wow. And I'm not gonna front, I enjoy watching those movies. I enjoy it, you know, the Bonanno family and, you know, all that stuff. I'm not gonna say I don't enjoy it. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah, and a few years back, yo, I went to the movies to see a movie where, you know, there's this thing about Somali pirates, right? Somali pirates. Oh, Somali pirates. You know, there was this big thing about it, you know, and basically, how different is a Somali pirate than Christopher Columbus? Christopher Columbus was a pirate, which I told my son when he was small, when he went to school, and told his teachers I told him that. And, you know, we made this whole big movie about it, and I forget the name of the movie. When I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna put it here, just in case you haven't seen it and you want to check it out. And I think Tom Hanks was it. He played like the, you know, the hero, where he took down these Somali pirates, and they had like the Somali actors and, you know, come up on the boat, and it was just like Tom Hanks' character, he was like the hero, like he took down these Somali pirates. And then I started thinking, like, because I'm someone who loves to think about things, I just think about everything. And when you think about the African slave trade, if it really happened the way that they tell us, because, you know, that's what they tell us, most of the Africans were like from West Africa, or, you know, the Congo, you know, which would be like central, I want to say, Africa. And there was slavery in places like, you know, East Africa, Southeast Africa, like South Africa. The Nazis were over there as well. I read a lot of books, y'all. That's why I got all this information that nobody cares about in this brain here. But like, they were never really brought to the US. And, you know, I looked at the map and I noticed that Somalia is right under a country called Yemen, and Yemen is, you know, a Middle Eastern country. And it made me think, like, maybe that's why there wasn't slaves taken from East Africa, even though East Africa is like, West Africa is closer to the US. Like, it's just like a water ride, you know, a boat ride away across the water. Whereas Somalia is on a whole other side of Africa, and it would be like a journey to go always to East Africa to get, you know, those types of, you know, the people on that region, Eritrea, Somalia, you know, those countries, Sudan, and bring them all the way back to the US. But then again, if Somali pirates are as dangerous as they portray in the movie, it's because the Somalians probably had the border on lock. They were probably taking these European ships, messing them up, killing them. Like, when you really think about it, like when I really think about it, like, whoa, like, like, did they not have, you know, East Africans because of how, you know, of these Somali pirates were as dangerous as they portrayed in the movie, or as they were portraying like 3 to 4 years ago, if they were that dangerous, that's probably why they weren't taking, you know, Africans from that border, because they had it on lock. They like, oh, y'all coming over here for what? This is all the things that came to my mind, like during the whole immigration, you know, ordeal and all the outrage and everything that was going on with that. And then we had the African lady who was on top of the Statue of Liberty. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to the Statue of Liberty, but like, she is really bold to be on top of the Statue of Liberty. Had she done that in the winter, one gust of wind would have sent her in the Hudson River. Those winds are so strong, you know. They're very strong, like in the winter, especially when you get near the water, you know. And I could just say there are so many other things and causes. Well, there are so many things that Black people in America face, so many issues, so much discrimination, so many things that we fight against. You know, I've experienced racial discrimination. My own son has experienced racial discrimination. You know, I have had to intervene in racial profiling. So I feel like there are, there are so many things that she could have fought for that would benefit Black people. Now, I understand, you know, her compassion for immigration, because she is an immigrant herself, and maybe that is why she chose that way to protest for the, you know, Latino immigrants. But then again, as a Black person, we have our own things in this country that, you know, she could be protesting for. But then again, when I think about it, she is an immigrant, and that could be something that hit close to home, and that's why she chose to protest on behalf of the Latinos in America. But where are like the celebrities that are Latino? Where's Mark Anthony? Where's Jennifer Lopez? I mean, Cardi B, for crying out loud, since she is like, you know, huge on the scene right now. Like, where are they? Like, where is their outcries? Where's their protest? You know? Sometimes I think that Black people do too much. That's just my opinion when it comes to other races. But then again, I do know that there is Black Latinos. You know, my grandfather is from the Dominican Republic, so, you know, in a sense, we are all the same, but at the same time, I don't know. You know, where are the Latinos? So where are those Latinos who really have a huge platform that could really make a difference? Why aren't they speaking out? Like, where are they? Like, where are their voices or whatever? So I don't know if that's just my 2 cents on the subject. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section. You know, add your 2 cents. Let's have a conversation. But at the end of the day, be nice to me, because I'm a very nice person, okay? I just like to share my different opinions on things. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in my next YouTube video. Toodles!